Years ago, I created and hosted a radio show called Positive Talk. This show was the passion of my life. Unfortunately, for many reasons, I had to give it up. Well, as time has gone by, I've realized that I really can't give up on my passion and need to continue somehow. Welcome to Positive Talk Radio, the podcast. I hope you'll join me as we talk to some of the most interesting and real people on the planet, and their passion is to help each one of us be the best we can be. So I hope you'll join me right now on Positive Talk Radio. And good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kevin McDonald, and you're listening to Positive Talk Radio. And again, one of our favorite people in the whole world is with us. Her name is Amy Satori. If you want to follow along, you can go to amysatori.com and find out a little bit more about her and the work that she does and how she can be helpful to you. With that, good afternoon, Amy. How are you?
Good afternoon. Thank you for that beautiful introduction.
Well, you are so welcome. Now, I have a question for you that has been on my mind since the last time we talked. And that is, you had mentioned at one time that you had what you termed was an awakening. I think that's the term you used. Mm-hmm. What was that?
Oh boy, this takes me back to a really beautiful time. Some people ask me if everything was going perfect in my life at the time, and it wasn't that. It wasn't that everything was perfect and there were no problems in my life or anything of the sort. But I think what had happened was I was getting massages on a regular basis from a really beautiful woman. She was sort of like an aunt to me, and she was giving me these massages once a week. And unbeknownst to me, she was actually training my heart for love. And she basically kept putting everything back on me, making me take responsibility for everything I was feeling, any kind of negative emotions. And she was giving me quite a deal at the time. She was only charging $10 for a full body massage for an hour and a half. Can you believe it?
Wow. You're some negotiator.
Good friend. Yeah. She was so amazing, but every week we made time to be together. And every week she'd pry open my heart a little more, a little more, a little more. And every time I'd say, oh, that person is such a liar, she'd say, how are you being a liar, sweetheart? And I'd be like, I'm not the liar, they're the liar. And she'd, then something else would come up. Oh, this person, blah, blah, blah. And she'd say, how are you being blah, blah, blah? And so...
Don't you hate it when somebody throws it right back at you?
Yeah. And, we did this for years. Sometimes it wasn't every week, but we sure were close to that. And, and a few times I was pretty upset with her and didn't want to see her for a little while because I knew what she was going to do to me. So, as pleasant as it was, I didn't like the other stuff she was throwing at me. So, but eventually I kind of started to crack open and have some epiphanies and started to realize it really was all about me, in my own perspective and my own views on everything. And I started to have these I don't know how to explain it, but she seemed to know that I was ready for a certain book. And the book was by Eckhart Tolle, and it was A New Earth. And she said, honey, I think you're ready for me to share this book with you. And by the way, she spoke to angels. And so she was also taking me away from my religious background in a sense that I was so black and white religious. I was like, you wouldn't believe. It's a good thing you didn't know me back then, because I probably would have hit you over the head with a Bible. But um, so
Well,
she
it's interesting that you say that because I think that we all, at one time or another, have gone through this metamorphosis, if you will, of the basic religious philosophies, and then deciding. Like for me, I decided that it wasn't enough, and I wanted more. I didn't believe it was as simplistic as I was being led to believe it was, and I needed and
yeah,
felt that I needed to have more, which led me down the road to that ended up with Positive Talk Radio because I
yeah,
wanted to bring people like you into the forefront so that people could see that there was actually more, not just as simplistic as going to church on Sunday and believing what's in that book that's in the front of the pew that they call the Bible. That's all there is, and if it's not in the Bible, it doesn't exist, and if it's in the Bible, it exists. And I don't want to get too political about it, but that it
yeah,
wasn't enough. I wanted more.
yeah. Well, and it was her love and her softness and her humor and her lightheartedness that broke my heart wide open. So it was something I hadn't experienced to that degree before her. So it just goes to show, actually, that it doesn't even matter the religion you're in. It matters where your heart is. So, and that's what touched me. She could have been, she could have been how I was, but just all heart. So, but it just so happened that she happened to be a woman who spoke with angels. Lucky for me, because she made me open to the idea of things like that, and she was just kind of, I guess, my gateway into this other thing that I knew was there, but was really scared to explore because my beliefs were so rigid. And I will also add this little piece that I think the Bible is correct. However, I do think that some things have been edited out of it, and I also think a lot of what's there is grossly misunderstood. So, having said that, here's what happened: is she finally felt that she was ready, that I was ready to read this book by Eckhart Tolle. And I took that book home and I started to read it, and I started to do the exercises he talked about. I learned about the ego and how it works. And something so incredible happened that I didn't even know. Back then, I didn't even know that there were people, that there was enlightenment, aside from what I was reading about our egos and things. I really didn't know that there was this big quest for enlightenment, and that all these people were trying so hard to get there. And I'm so glad I didn't know. people who People who are really successful in network marketing, for example, do so because they didn't have a bunch of negative stuff in their past about it. So same thing with me. I didn't have any kind of stories made up about that whole other side of things. So for me, I just was taking his word for everything and reading it, and my heart was opening up, and I was totally, what I was reading felt so real to me and so true to me that I was like a flower blossoming, and something happened inside of me that it is so hard to describe to people who haven't experienced it, because it's not like being human at all. I mean, you realize that you are a human, but everything, like, here are some examples, I guess. Everything that I saw with my physical eyes felt magical. It felt colorful, much more vividly colorful than what we see normally. Um, it was like you know what it was like? If you've seen the movie Limitless, do you remember? Have you seen that movie?
I haven't seen that one, no.
Okay, well, you got to see it, because this guy takes this pill, and all of a sudden, it's like all of his senses are heightened, and everything is like in slow motion, and he knows exactly what to do, how quick to move, what decisions to make, and he's just suddenly brilliant and knows exactly what to say. And that's exactly what happened. Only I didn't take a pill, and I wasn't on any drugs or anything like that.
So no LSD in your soup.
Yeah, it was like it. It was like my heart just came right open, and everybody who appeared before me, and I was interacting with in any way, I just knew what was on their heart at the deepest, deepest level, and I responded to that instead of what they were saying to me. Because a lot of what people say is superficial, but it was like I would go talk to somebody and it would just dig up from the roots what they needed to hear. And I wasn't doing it on purpose. It was not my intention or anything. It was just like I was walking compassion. And everyone I spoke to, I moved their hearts in a really profound way. And it was easy, and I wasn't even trying. I didn't even know what I was doing. I just knew that something inside of me had shifted so profoundly that my heart was like wide open. And I was just this walking, loving being, and you could not offend me if you tried. I mean, you could have been throwing things at me. You could have been spitting in my face. You could have broken my leg. You could have shot my car with a shotgun. I wouldn't have cared about anything because everything seemed so perfect and exactly perfectly right. There was nothing out of sorts in the universe. You couldn't tell me anything was wrong. There was no problem about anything. And now this did not happen through me trying to have a positive attitude, mind you. And I think that's why I'm going back and learning. That's why I think the experience was kind of taken from me in a sense, so that I could have to go back the other route, which, one route to enlightenment would be that you go into this beingness like I did. I got really, really present until it just like blossomed this beingness inside of me to completely encompass me or become one with me. The other way is to become so positive that your brain kind of gets retrained and your brain opens wide up and your ego just dissolves and you go into that pure consciousness that way. So I think since I had done it through presence the last time, that now the universe is showing me, or I'm showing myself, that that I can now do it through this positive attitude, and then and I can show others the path to doing it this way as well. So I just found myself in a very, very, very powerful and very, very soft and very gentle and very loving and very strong place that was completely unshakable.
And
And
how
and
long
I
did,
also,
oh, go ahead.
well, I remember one very distinct thing is that I didn't think. I know that sounds really bizarre, but it was more like living by instinct. I was almost like on autopilot. So I remember, I mean, I could have like little kind of epiphanies where I was watching myself, observing myself, and I would notice, wow, I feel like the passenger in my life, not the driver. Like like I'm just a puppet. So I remember having like little epiphanies like that, but for the most part, I wasn't thinking. And if I needed to think, I knew that I did, and I would pull it down like a tool. And also, I had like my whole energy field around me was completely clear of any thoughts or anything. It was just like this vibrant, incredibly blissful feeling surrounded me at all times, and I was one with it. And then if there were these little thought forms that I could see kind of floating toward me, and they would be trying to enter my space, and I could tell that they were kind of a looming presence, like, oh, you almost forgot this thing, and if you forget this thing, something catastrophic is going to happen. And I could actually sense the thought before it got there without even looking at the thought, and I could tell what type of thought it was trying to come in, and I would turn my attention away from it, and it would just go away. So
Didn't
I
you
learned a
feel?
lot.
didn't you feel a little odd about all of this? Because this is not a normal thing that people go through, is it?
You know what's really crazy that I realize is it's our true nature. It's our real nature. It's the way we were designed to be. That's how off we are.
Oh boy, we really are.
Yeah,
So it was
because it
something.
was so easy, Kevin. It was so easy and effortless and everything. If I just intended, and now this is something I'll briefly touch on Bentinho for a moment because this is the thing that drew me to him was that he talks about the law of attraction. Yes, he talks about enlightenment and that path as well. But I always had this quandary, like the law of attraction people believe that you should desire, you should visualize and want to create. And then you have these other people on the enlightenment side who are saying, no, you are just to accept everything as it is, no desire. You are just to embrace everything just as it is and just stay in this state of complete peace and in like a very neutral place. So when I was teaching both of these aspects in my work, I just was having trouble with that. And Bentinho came along. He had explored it himself, and he had discovered for himself, and it also rang true for me, that it is actually our nature to create. And when he said that, he just said, the Enlightenment side pretty much, they got it wrong. A lot of teachers got it wrong. And they may have achieved enlightenment, but they had that little piece wrong, and they've been teaching it for so many years that it's just ingrained. So I thought, oh my gosh, this guy, he's hit it right on. And then I just lit up, and I was like, that's it. Because I remember when I was in that state, it was so easy to manifest anything I wanted. I literally would say, I remember at the time I was a community relations director for retirement living, and we had a lot of pressure to fill the rooms, and we had probably 10 rooms empty at the time. And my boss had pulled me into the office, and he said, Amy, we got 10 rooms to fill. Do your magic, girl. I know you can do it, because he really had a lot of confidence in me. And I walked out of that room, and I remember thinking, okay, 10 rooms. And that was it. That was all it took. And within like a day or two, all these people came flooding in the front door like never before. Now, this is just after my awakening experience. All these people come in, and they've already been thinking about where they wanted to place their parents. They've already made the decision that they wanted to be at our community. They were already sold on it. They were right on the brink of kind of like falling apart in my arms, like opening up to me and pouring out their heart. And then they'd be like, I really want to come here. I just feel so good about coming here. And so within about 2 days, the whole place was filled up.
What's interesting about
And
that is what's interesting about that, Amy, real quick, is for those people who don't
mhm,
know what you were doing, you were working in a retirement home, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So when you say you had 10 rooms to fill, when people at the retirement home that you worked at, when they checked out, they really checked out, as in they passed away.
Oh, yes, yes,
And so
yeah.
for you to number one, that would be really hard to have that be. I mean, when people check out, you think of them as like going someplace else, but in your case, they would all just pass away. So that's what you were doing, was filling up rooms of people that had passed away, and then you were able to do that and just kind of magically made it materialize, right?
Well, it was assisted living, so they probably had between 1.5 to 5 years left of their lives, I would say. So, but it was their last. Is for most of them, it was their last place they were going to live. And there's just a lot a family has to go through to decide to finally put their parents in assisted living. There's denial and all the stages of grief they have to go through to finally make that decision. And not only that, but these rooms are usually $5,000 to $10,000 a room.
Wow.
So, and that's not including the deposit. So, as you can imagine, um, it's not an easy thing to just snap your fingers and fill 10 rooms.
Well, apparently it is
So unless
because
you're
you did
having some
it.
kind of big event, yeah, yeah. So, but that's how incredible our true nature is, and that's how easy it is to manifest. And we were born to create. It's in our nature. It's what we do. We have a thought, it gets created. I mean, we don't realize how powerful our thoughts are. If we think that really irritates me, guess what? Okay, God is so kind to us, or the universe or our higher selves is so kind to us. It says, okay, you put your attention on that, it's yours. So we have to be so careful what we think about
Yeah, well,
because we are attracting that and we're manifesting it sometimes immediately.
and
Have you ever thought something and then all of a sudden it happens like right then? And
uh,
you're like, uh-oh.
well, well, but then there's the other side, which is in our true nature. And correct me if I'm wrong, but in our true nature, when we want something or we manifest something, it does happen right away. But in our earthly bodies, it takes a while to manifest these things. So it's not instantaneous in most cases. It doesn't seem to be instantaneous. Although what you're telling me is when you were in this period of enlightenment, that it was virtually instantaneous.
Yeah. I mean, I was pretty much just innocent and pure. And that's the place that it takes you. You're back to your true nature. There's no baggage, there's no garbage for anything to have to get through. There's no emotional blockages or anything like that going on that's keeping anything from coming to you. You are at a vibrational match to that which you are creating. And because you are so high and so blissful and so happy, that whatever thoughts you have is blissful, happy, and high, and that is exactly what appears before you next. And miracles happen; they just unfold in front of you all the time.
How
But you
does
don't have to be enlightened to have that happen. I'm just saying that, in fact, there are all kinds of things being manifested right now that are coming to you that you've already manifested that are kind of like behind the scenes. It's like you've planted the seeds and they're beneath the surface and they're just about to break through the ground and start to be seen. And then some people don't have the patience to wait for that grass to to poke up above the surface, and we give up. And then we have this. Then we bring our vibration down, and then it's kind of like it starts to go back. It starts to retreat back because it's like, oh, well, you're not attracting me anymore. I'm going to go away. So it's very important that we stay of the highest vibration we can at every given moment.
okay? How does one do that? Because
um,
the world that we live in is full of lower vibrations, and it tends to bring us down. And lower, and especially when you are trying to manifest something and it doesn't happen right away, we tend to give up and say, "Oh well, that wasn't going to happen anyway." And how do you maintain that level?
okay, well, for one, oh well, that wasn't going to happen anyway is a story, and it's a story that was caused by your past. And if without that story, we can create whatever we want to, but it's the story that gets in the way. So does that make sense?
Uh
Because our stories.
huh. Yes, it does, dear one, because that story is something that we've created as a way of self-defense or to keep us from being disappointed or a myriad of things. It's a story that we believe, and it none of it is actually real, but we tend to believe it.
Yeah, well, it's our belief system, and it's been developed over supposed time. But the key is really, Bentino puts it really well. He encourages us to follow the breadcrumbs of excitement. So, and I really like that analogy because it's like, I feel like I'm kind of like, I don't know, like a radar or like Muji calls it. I feel like I'm a set of eyeballs. And But I try to just walk along in life and look at what's coming before me, and I put my attention on whatever I love in that moment, whatever I enjoy at that moment. Or if I'm not enjoying whatever it is, I try to enjoy it. I try to change my perspective or think positively of it. So I actually have an article about that on my website on how you can like things that you don't like, because you can change it. It's like if it's in front of me and I can't change it, like if there's a bear, if there's a bear that crosses my path in front of me, I can I can either see it as, oh my gosh, and then go to a really ugly place, or I can say, wow, look at this creature. And I can just totally be in the moment, like admiring and looking at this thing with total disregard for whether I'm going to live or die, but just
until he
being in
eats you.
awe. The
That's
funny thing is, I think it's a lot more likely he'll eat you if you're scared than if you're in a moment of awe.
well,
So,
you know what they say about being chased by a bear. You don't have to be faster than the bear. You just have to be faster than the next slowest guy.
I always tell people the very best possible protection anybody ever has is to stay in the moment, out of your fears and out of your stories, just being very present in the moment, in a state of enjoyment or a state of bliss if you can manage it in any given moment. So it's just one step at a time, not thinking too far into your future on how to make things happen, because it's like our job as people truly is to just be as happy as we possibly can. That's our only job. I mean, how easy is that? In any given moment, you can choose, I think I'd like to drive my car right now. The next moment might be, I think I want to crack open a beer. The next might be, well, I think I'd like to go for a nature walk. Whatever your excitement is, moment to moment, you just choose that. It's so simple and so easy. And then you have the next moment where it just you just get led, just moment by moment, bliss by bliss, and you just keep choosing what is the highest bliss, and you become like unshakable. And it's kind of like you could look over at the news that's going on. If there's a room where there's the news on TV, and then there's another room where it's a peaceful sewing room, and you happen to like to make quilts or something, then just simply look over at the room with the quilt and go toward that. Just try to see everything that's going on in your life either in the best possible light, or go toward what makes you enjoy. So that's our job. And our higher self's job is to do all the magic and do all the synchronicity and to line up your soulmate for you in the background coming forward. And he's dropping his girlfriend for you, and he's getting ready and getting rid of his baggage for you. And all this is going on that you're totally oblivious to, and just totally trusting and happy with your life. And you're going on just happy-go-lucky. And your higher self is like, oh my gosh, do I have the most incredible design plan? She has no idea how exciting this is going to be, you know. And what a fun job each of us have. I mean, the higher self is like, yay, and we're like, yay. And when that lines up, then you have all this magic happen. But when you sit there and go, okay, I think my job is to figure this out, and I think my job is to worry and try to control it and try to manipulate this person to get it, and my job is to, I don't know, just all the guck. We
Oh,
get stuck in the guck, and it's not us. It's just it's our egos just being overstimulated to the point that it's just like trying to take over. And so I'm trying to teach people to go back within, and to just come from that trusting place and get back in the moment and get present again, to be able to open up the path for the higher self to be able to do this incredible miracle in your life.
I have, I think, an example of this. Let me tell you this real quick story. Years ago, I was involved with, and you had mentioned it, marketing. And I was with a program, and there was a group of us that would get together every day on the phone, and we had a mentor who would try and lead us through ways of being successful in network marketing with this particular company. We all had problems with it because it was so hard. Everything was hard. You had to go out and talk to people. That's hard. You had to do this, and it was just really hard. Well, one of the group, her name is Nicole, and one of these days I intend to have her on the show. She made a cataclysmic shift one day. She just came on to the phone call we were on, and she said, "You know what? I've decided this is easy. I don't have to work at it. It's not going to be a problem. It's as easy. All I have to do is go and do this, and it's easy." And she kept on using the term, "it's easy." Well, what ended
Mm,
up happening was she became wildly successful in this network marketing company because it wasn't drudgery, it wasn't difficult, it wasn't hard anymore. For her, it was just easy. And that's kind of what you're talking about, isn't
yeah,
it?
that's exactly what I'm talking about. She tapped into that, and that's the goal for all of us. Tap into that. Whatever it takes, tap into it. See everything that happens in your life in a good light. If you view anything in a negative light, thank God for it, you know?
There are
Um
people out there, Amy, that are saying, "Oh, poor dear child. She has no idea how tough my life is. I can't
Oh my
possibly
gosh.
believe everything is going to be okay because
Ugh.
I've got this problem and I don't have any money and my car's broken down and I da 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 and it's guck upon guck and it's and people are drowning in it. They can't.
Well, Kev, you know the things I've been through. I have been in a mental institution having had a breakdown, and it was labeled post traumatic stress syndrome, if anybody's heard of that.
Yeah.
Had tremendous anxiety for quite a while that was very, very hard to overcome. I have had very abusive relationships that I didn't think I could overcome, and I, at the
Yes,
time, wished
you
I could have died.
have. Yep.
I have had some really, really tough things go on. I've been dead broke. I've lived homeless on the streets of Las Vegas. I have had so many hopes dashed. I've been in several network marketing companies that didn't make it. I poured my heart into one project that just seemed like it was so incredible. I learned how to make videos. I learned how to work with audio. I learned how to do all this incredible graphic design and all this big intricate program, and poured out my heart into it just to have absolutely nothing happen with it. And so I had the opportunity then and in all these different circumstances to just give up. And sometimes I did, honestly. And but in that particular instance, with that whole business, that whole venture, all of that I poured my heart into for 2 or 3 years, some people are like, "Oh, she'll never make it at anything because she didn't make it at that." And now I look at that and I think that it has just catapulted me now. I know how to edit video. I know how to edit audio. I know how to design my own website and do everything myself. And everybody else who has their businesses are struggling with all these things. They're having to hire people to do it all, and I know how to do it all myself.
Speaking of
So it's
which,
really an advantage to me now.
if you want to learn
Yeah.
more about Amy, go to www.amysatori.com. Don't you like the way I just kind of slipped that right in there? And Amy does some incredible work, and she can help you too, because that is that Amy in a nutshell. What you are describing is the way that you will attain what you want in your life, but it is so darn hard to be able to do that and to stay with it. What advice do you have for folks on how to keep that front and center all the time?
Oh gosh, That is a good question. You throw some good ones at me
That's
to keep
that's
you on the path. Let's see what kept me going no matter what was happening with me. It hurt so damn bad. It just hurt so damn bad. Why stay there? I mean, seriously, it's hell. It feels awful. Why? And then you start making everybody around you completely miserable, and then you start really convincing yourself of how awful everything is, and then everything's awful. Like, I stepped in a mud puddle now. Shit, my day's just going to be the worst. And, now I tripped over a garbage can. And, now this person's coming at me, and And it works just the opposite of how my life is right now. So it's kind of like sometimes you need somebody like me that's been through all that and then has the opposite thing happening now. So for me right now, the way I walk through life is, oh my gosh, that's so incredible. Oh my gosh, that's so incredible. And it may be to other people, they may be like, oh no, uh-oh. For me, I'm like, yeah, awesome. Okay, so what now?
oh
And
yeah.
so it can turn around to the complete opposite, to where every single thing that happens is setting you up for better and better and better and better. And it just keeps getting better and better. Trust me, I've been I've been the lowest of the lowest that could possibly, I think I've been through the trenches of the worst that hell could be. And now I'm soaring. And if I get off kilter at all, if I start feeling uncomfortable, it feels so dang uncomfortable that I don't stay there for long. And I usually end up practicing one of my exercises. Actually, I'll be, I'll just say, okay, thank you, God, that I'm upset with my father right now. Thank you, God, that my dad is like this. And I'll say, here are all the benefits and advantages to why that's a great thing, why that is a really good thing. And like Byron Katie says, if God is good, and He is, why is this a good thing? And you just come back to that, because everything is always being set up to your advantage. It's always being set up to your benefit, and it's always being set up so that you are caught in soft, gentle, loving, incredibly strong hands. You're just choosing to believe that that's not the case. But all it is a belief. You just got to retrain yourself. I mean, it's just most of it is just habit. And society. Don't listen to anybody. Don't listen to people around you and what they think of things. If they're being negative, don't listen to it. Get away from those people. And you just be your own. Just be your own boss. Be your own spiritual guide. Go to yourself.
You know what's really
And
sad?
just choose to. What?
Go ahead. I was just going to say what's really sad is a lot of us have stories that are rattling around in our head of things that we believe about ourselves that somebody told us maybe years ago, and that individual, when they said that, was maybe 6 or 8
Mm-hmm.
or 10, and we treat what they said as the gospel truth, even though
Yes.
they know nothing about who we really are. And so instead of saying, you know, that story is something that I don't choose to listen to anymore, a lot of us will take that and keep it ingrained in us, so that when good things happen to us, we tend to downplay them and we overplay when bad things happen, because this is what I've always
Mhm.
been like. And that's
Mhm.
why I ask you, how, when somebody, because there's somebody who's listening to this podcast who's in that place right now, who is in the
Mhm.
place where it's just full of guck and their shoes are covered with mud and they can't walk. Have you ever had one of those dreams where you're being chased and you can't run?
Yeah.
Have you ever have you ever had that dream? That's
Oh yeah.
that's like what a lot of people are. They're being chased and they just can't run away. They can't get away, and they're stuck. And that's why what you're talking about is so important. How to get out of that, because we tend to just stay there.
Well, and you gotta. The thing is that the more that we resist something, the bigger it gets. And now this is one of the things, I'm glad you brought that up, because this is one of the emotional blockages I pick up on when I look at somebody's energy system or their energy field. Is I will say, it looks like when you were younger, you may have had this belief imposed on you and blah, blah, blah. And they'll say, oh, yeah, well, okay. And then that's taken out, and then they can start to choose a different belief to replace that with. And they have to be willing to take a look at whatever that thing is. Like, you can't put off every day. Like they may look at my website and see these great ideas on these exercises to do, for example, and say, oh yeah, well, I'll do that tonight. Maybe I'll do that tonight. And they'll even grab like a tablet and a piece of paper, or a piece of paper and a pen, or whatever they need to, and they'll bring it to work with them and think, oh, when I get a break or something, I'm just going to sit down and do this exercise and just hash it out. Well, then they don't do it. And then that night comes, well, I think I want to do this instead, and they'll do that, and the next day it just keeps getting put off, and they're pretty much just running from it. So either face it and do the exercise, just do it, or get present, get so in the moment and present that it just dissolves, because it's really just a story and it really doesn't matter, and you can rise above it. And really, Bentino actually talks about this really cool analogy too, that there's all these levels of domains, and I've actually seen this. I've practiced and worked with this a bit too. I don't talk about something that I haven't personally tried to see if it rings true for me as well, and I also encourage those who are listening right now to do the same. But he talks about domains. It, like, say you're in this box number 1 that's on the bottom floor, and in this box number 1, everything's miserable, everything is disgusting, everything is horrible, and you don't have much hope for life. The second box up, you're thinking, okay, well, I know that there are people out there happy, I know that it's possible, I just don't think it's possible for me. The third domain, the third box up, is like, well, I think I might be able to. I know that there might be things that I might be able to do that could do this. So you've got all these domains stacked up in all these different boxes, and within each of these domains, you've got all these sets of thoughts and beliefs that are stacked up in that box. And that's what you're going to remember, how I was talking about the thought form coming into your energy field.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's full of all these specific, hateful thoughts. And then you go up to the second domain, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth. And have you ever had those days where you're just feeling so optimistic and excited about everything, and then the next day everything's shit again? It's like,
No, not me. This is Positive Talk Radio. We don't have bad days around here. Or, of course, we all do that, and we all can have. We're walking on cloud 9 one day, and then the next day it's like, oh God, here we go again.
Exactly. So now, if you look at it this way, which is this is a way of seeing it as not a personal thing. When you take your life as really personal, and when you take these thoughts as being you, and you take them personally, then you're really going to be going through quite a jungle of kind of a mess. So if you realize it's just a domain that I'm stuck in, then just shift out of the domain. It's pretty simple if you start practicing it, because you catch yourself going, like on your happy day, hey, I must be in at least the 5th domain. This is pretty awesome, or maybe I'm in 8. I must be in the 8th domain because I'm feeling pretty awesome. And then all of a sudden the next day you wake up, I'm a 2. I'm definitely in the 2 box. I'm stuck in this 2 box.
Yep.
But if you think about it too, you're the same person and you have dramatically different thoughts from day to day, right? Well, that's not you. You're not your thoughts. You're just
not?
in box 5 or you're in box 2, and you're stuck there with those set of thoughts that belong to that box and that domain and that frequency. So just get out of it. And the way that you can do that is to just be in that higher place. Like, just meditate for a moment and go to box 5. Just just clear everything out, and you could even like pretend for a bit that you're super happy, that everything's going incredible, that everything is like it was yesterday. Just go back to that place, and then you'll find that you just pop right back into box 5. So you just kind of got to work with it and not take it personally when you have those hard days, and just realize you're stuck in a different box and shift out. Or just if you get really present in the moment and you forget all about there being a future to worry about or a past to get over, if you just get so in the moment that you're in the project that you're in, if there's an art project you love, if there's music you really love to listen to that gets you really there in the moment, do whatever it takes to really get in the moment, because it shakes your ego off. It'll help you get more anchored in who you truly are, that conscious being that you truly are at your core.
Wow, that's a profound statement. And that does, I think, help people understand how to get out of box number 1 and get to box number 8 is simply, honestly, by thinking about it, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I have a couple of affirmations I've mentioned before, but I'm happy to share them again over and over and I got them from Bentinho also. He's incredible. These affirmations are something that I immediately shift from any box I'm in up to the top. And they grow more and more powerful in time, the more evidence that you've gathered. And by the way, I do encourage you to keep a diary of all the incredible synchronicities and things. I would just keep a diary every day of the cool things that happen, and you will see them start to stack up day to day. And you'll even refer a couple days back and be like, oh, yeah, I remember wondering about this, and the answer came the next day. That type of stuff,
That's really
But where was I
interesting.
going
Yeah.
with this?
When, when, well, I'll tell you, you have given me and everybody that's listening a lot of things to think about, and that is to get back to where we started this conversation. That is how you reached uh, your period of enlightenment that you were talking about, right?
Well, it was it was taking personal responsibility was like the first step in getting there, to realize that, and this is where Matt Kahn's self-love concept comes in really well too, is he tells you to keep putting it on yourself, keep putting it on yourself, because the real problem isn't what's going on around you, it's what you're doing to yourself and how you're treating yourself that's really what it's all about. And you're dealing with the ego and all that stuff. So just loving yourself is going to just render the ego powerless, Oh, and the thing that I was going to mention earlier was the affirmations.
Yes.
So they're worth going back to and mentioning those because they're very powerful. Okay, so one of them is, everything always goes so incredible for me. And this may also, I'm not sure if it came from Bentinho or Abraham, but it doesn't really matter. Just take it on. Everything always goes so incredible for me. And just own that. And any time that you find yourself in a lower box 2, 3, 4, whatever, just go down there. Oh, geez, I'm in box 2. Everything always goes so incredible for me. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And then you'll be there. And then
hold on just a second, because somebody's grabbing a pen and a piece of paper.
okay.
Okay. We'll wait. Okay. They've got their piece of paper and a pen now. So say that one again.
Everything always goes so incredible for me. And that's a simple one. And here's the other one. Okay. I am so completely supported in all ways and always. I am so completely supported in all ways and always. It just blows my mind how supported I am.
Now, does it help to believe that? Or can you just say it?
You fake it for a while if you absolutely have to, but if you can muster up, like go back to a memory where you really believed that and you really felt that and feel it again, make it more alive. Anything that you've experienced before is just as alive right now as you can make it. That's why you don't rehash the past experiences that are negative. But you can just bring that feeling forth however you can. Use your imagination, but make it happen. Just if you won the lottery, would you feel that? Yeah. Wow. I'd feel, wow, I'm so supported. Go there, feel that. However you can pull that feeling up, just do it. And then as you start to gather this evidence with a diary or whatever, your beliefs are going to get stronger and stronger as you build on them.
And that's the key, is building on your beliefs and restructuring and retooling yourself to believe in the positive things and jettison the negative things.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. By the way, we've been talking with Amy Satori. Go to her website, which is amysatori.com, and she's got exercises there. She's got a wonderful blog there, and all sorts of things that can help you to learn how to do the things that she's talking about, because obviously she practices what she preaches, and because she's doing incredibly well. And even in her just the presence that you have and the energy you bring is so much more than it could be or it used to be, because you're there, you're getting there, and I'm very proud of you.
Hey, thank you.
So, by the way, we've been talking, and we're about ready to run out of time. So, do you have anything that you would like to add before we say goodbye for today?
Well, I know a lot of people are kind of nervous about the type of work I do, so I just want to encourage you to go to my website and take a look at testimonials, because people share their nervousness and their trepidations about it, and then they also express their experience of what happened as a result. So you might feel a little bit more comfortable once you see what some other people's experience has been. So I just encourage you to take a look at that on my website too.
Well, there are some really cool testimonials that are on that website, and they're from just everyday people like you and me that have reached something that they never thought that they could, and that's a real rare gift that you have. So I hope that people will go to your website and or you know what, go to your website and give you a call. You're a very nice person, and people would enjoy talking to you. So, and just like we have enjoyed talking to you today, so it's awesome what you do,
Thanks, Kat.
and I
Thank
humbly
you.
appreciate it. So, by the way, did you want to put out your phone number for people if they wanted to call you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
It's 817-219-8831.
And again, we've been talking with Amy Satori. She is a magnificent soul and somebody that can really help you get past, as you used it, which is a technical term, the guck that's out there. And because guck is a real term, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Amy, thank you very much for being on the show today. And this podcast will appear shortly. Well, there you have it. Another wonderful podcast by Amy Satori. Again, you can go to Amy Satori's website, www.amysatori.com, and you can look and see what's out there for you. I hope you'll do it, because she has a lot to offer. My name is Kevin McDonald, and, do something nice for yourself. Do something nice for somebody else. We'll be back soon. Take care.